So this is the OnePlus Pad 3. It has a Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, and today we're going to do a speed test comparison against the iPad Pro M4. This is a 13.0 inch tablet. This is a 13.2 inch. So let's see how fast this more value-oriented OnePlus Pad 3 comes up against a very powerful but also way more costly iPad Pro M4. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and let's go ahead and just begin this speed test with a boot up in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, the iPad tends to boot up pretty quick. I do think it might win this battle here, but we are looking at an LCD display here for the OnePlus Pad 3, and we are looking at a tandem OLED here, so that is probably the biggest difference. We also do have 0.2 inches bigger, so the OnePlus Tab or the Pad 3 actually feels a little bit bigger as well. It is slightly bigger screen, but it only boots up a little bit quicker for the iPad Pro M4, but we're going to give it the first W. All right, so here we are at the home screens, and you could see beautiful displays on both. This is a 3.4K panel, so very sharp. However, it is has more of like a grayish hue to the blacks. So if you want the darker blacks, you're going to want the iPad. It has a tandem OLED display, so it is very contrasty and gorgeous. But if you like sharper text and easier on the eye for reading, I do think the OnePlus Pad is a better option here for things of that sort. But generally, scrolling through these two tablets, you'll see both of them are 120 hertz, so they definitely scroll like exactly the same. And why the OnePlus is a pretty good bargain value, it's not the cheapest tablet out there, but it's definitely a lot cheaper than this, is because you're getting a 120 hertz display and you're getting it at like iPad Air prices for this one over here. Also, their latest Oxygen OS that started with the OnePlus 13 basically brought some of the smoothest operation on the Android side of things across the market. So now they just carried that over into a large, beautiful tablet here. And what it makes for is a very smooth and very polished kind of like feel every day. So I like what we see here. And you'll see as we navigate across, there's almost virtually perceptive zero difference. All right, so we're going to begin here with calendar. So 3, 2, go. And you can see basically the same thing. Now, both of these do have multitasking modes. OnePlus has the open canvas. Let's go over to clock. It'll allow you to do triple app split screen. You have a double, you can do a split screen on the iPad as well. And looking pretty similar. I don't like how the calculator, the numbers are these circles are very small in here. I do like these bigger buttons. So OnePlus could update this calculator to match the size of this screen a little bit better, but that's just a small thing. Let's go into Play Store, App Store, and you'll see basically the same there, not a substantial difference. Now, what is a substantial difference is there's a lot more iPad applications that are optimized properly for iPad, so they fill out the screen better. Sometimes you're going to get some apps that will just automatically force portrait mode a little bit more on the OnePlus than you'll see on the iPad. Let's go into ChatGPT. But all the stuff that you want to use day to day that wasn't too much different is going to be pretty similar. Honestly, it really is. So let's head into Instagram. Now, here's a funny thing. Instagram is not actually optimized properly for the iPad, where it is as it is for the Android device. So definitely some of them might actually be better on the Android side. Let's head over here to Grok on both. That was faster on the iPad, although we did go to the login screen here. And let's go into Copilot on both. 3, 2, go. And Copilot, pretty much the same. It was asking for location, so let me go ahead and try that again. You'll even see the app switchers look basically the same on both. All right, so let's relaunch Copilot there in 3, 2, go. And you'll see a little bit quicker to pop up there on the iPad. We'll go into YouTube, and this is going to be faster on the OnePlus. Let's go over here to trending. And if we move over here, you'll see not a big disparity, although it just depends Do you like LCD or OLED for consuming content? Both of them have really good aspect ratios for both work and play, so that's going to be pretty fun. Let's go into X on both, and you'll see that was faster on the OnePlus to load that up. And swiping through, again, OnePlus is one of the smoothest out there when it comes to Android products, so it actually feels very much like an iPad when it comes to scrolling smoothness, operating system smoothness. That's why I really like it a lot. Let's go into Amazon because the iPad is the gold standard. We all know this. So OnePlus giving you this option with the really customizable and useful Android OS. It's pretty nice. For some people, though, the iPads lead in the tablet market, having some of the best apps out there and laptop grade chipset will still lead them to want that product, which is totally understandable. Let's swipe up out of here. But I like that we have this offering. Let's go into Subway Surfers. But let me tell you, if you're definitely not willing to fork over what it costs for the M4, a OnePlus Pad 3 is really going to make you happy. This is going to feel like, man, I got my money's worth with this tablet. Like, honestly, I'm using it a lot, and I feel like I'm getting most of the same benefits. Besides having the luxurious tandem OLED display. I call it luxurious because it really is a luxurious media viewing experience. It definitely is. So you can see you can play games, no problem. Let's go into Dead Trigger 2. And of course, I know a lot of these apps I'm opening aren't necessarily pushing these products to their full potential. The iPad would definitely win if we started to get into things like probably video rendering and stuff of that sort. That computer grade chip would come into play, and that is something I would recommend iPad for. If you want to use video apps, they have Final Cut on here now, mobile version. It's going to be the better product for stuff like that. But for your large tablet use, AI stuff, we have inbuilt AI on both of them now, so we don't have a big issue either way. And we're getting some pop-ups here. But so far, what I am seeing is essentially the same type of performance on both of these. So you can see right here, now in this application, more content is displayed on the right. And so sometimes more content will be displayed here. Sometimes it'll be displayed here. It really just depends on the app. Let's go into Free Fire. But I would say as a general statement overall, the iPad tends to have more optimized apps. But for the stuff I use, which is mostly your regular YouTube, Amazon, regular applications, a few games here and there, they both tend to do just fine. I did use the iPad a lot to try to replace my MacBook last year, but I stopped doing that because it didn't work out. It's just not as efficient to me as a MacBook. So I really want to see what they do come WWDC tomorrow. Let's go ahead and hit Gemini. And you can see it popping up at the same time. What's cool about the OnePlus though, and this is basically for any of these products, is you can actually resize the keyboard here. Let's go over here, back here. Let me hit settings. And it was there, but I wanted to go to this part. Resize. So you can actually resize the keyboard. That's pretty cool, actually. So I do like that on tablet. Sometimes you want a smaller, sometimes you want a bigger keyboard. And you could split it here on the iPad as well. No issues. So it's not going to be a substantial difference, but definitely having those customizations are pretty neat. Let's go into Call of Duty on both. And you are going to be getting 8 gigabytes of RAM for most of the iPads, unless you really fork over the cache. For the 1 terabyte version, it gives you 16. This gives you 12 gigabytes of RAM at a much cheaper price. So the RAM value is better on the OnePlus than the iPad, because you got to pay like $2,000 to get the 16 GB RAM on the iPad, which you kind of don't even need 16. I would argue you need about 12 on these products. So you seen Call of Duty was pretty close. And look at that. When I swipe, they got like the same look when you go up there. Let's go into the PUBG. People are going to say this is the copy of the iPad. I mean, you could look at it that way, or you could just look at it like an alternative option. I look at it more like an alternative option rather than a straight copy, because it definitely doesn't look the same. Like the app icons don't look the same. Oxygen OS has its own look as well. Like not everything looks exactly the same. So it's more like an alternative. If we swipe through, PUBG is going to be very fun to play on both of these. Although with this size of a product, I probably would want to go ahead and connect the controller. It's just too big to be holding in the hand. I probably should have left on the portrait mode so they stopped doing that. Let's go over here to, or turn off auto rotate, but then it probably won't rotate back when we go to landscape. So let me go ahead and do that there. And we'll go into erase the sun here. And you've seen that, which one's going to win here? OnePlus takes that. And if I'm calling them off, any apps wrong, just let me know which one won down below. Don't take it too seriously. I'm trying to look through the camera, make sure things in focus, make sure audio is proper. So sometimes I miss one. Let's go into 3D Mark. And you'll see that was faster on the iPad. Let's go into Speed Test Net and faster on the iPad. And we'll go over here to InShot and faster on the OnePlus. So your day-to-day launching applications, virtually not a big difference whatsoever. Also, because they went with the 8 Elite chip, which we all know is a powerhouse, it can play games fine. It has good cooling. None of these tablets get hot. This actually has a bigger battery than the iPad. Both of them last super long. I would say the OnePlus actually lasts a little longer on the battery life from what I've seen. But definitely both of them are really, really optimized, very thin. They both kind of look similar as well. You just can't go wrong here with either. These are awesome products right here. They really are. So let's go ahead and run the RAM management now to see what we get. And I did turn off the the double swipe gesture, so we shouldn't have to swipe twice here to get out. And there we go. And it's going to have to rotate back. Looks like it did close out Call of Duty. Let's go into Free Fire. And for some reason, I'm wondering if I have some power saving mode on or something. I don't know why it's relaunching a couple of those. Let's go into Dead Trigger 2. And it did close that app out. There might be some efficiency thing I have enabled. I don't know why it's doing that, but definitely reloading a couple of apps here. And we'll go to X. But you can see a very smooth experience overall. So I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. Oh, that got slid up there. Yeah, something's up. Let me know what I didn't enable, because yeah, some of these apps were not open, but definitely very smooth animations, no major issue. Now the iPad should have all of this open in the background. I will say the iPad still looks slightly smoother and definitely is holding these things a little bit better here in the background. And we'll see right there. I do think something I have enabled was causing them to close on the OnePlus. There's no way they couldn't hold those. And you can see Subway Surfers, a little bit of a reload there. But generally, I think, you know, these kind of feel the same. Like the animations look the same. The app icons look similar. The way they operate is kind of similar. They both have keyboard attachments, both have folio attachments. Of course, there's going to be way more accessory options with the iPad because it's much more popular. But generally, pretty similar there, with the iPad holding a bit more in the background. I'm gonna check what's closing those apps actually though. So I think this feature right here might have been causing it, the automatically exit power saving mode. So it goes to a balanced mode, and if you hit learn more, it'll say that it'll disable or lock recent apps. So that could be related. So definitely, if I had that off, it probably wouldn't have did it. Also, app battery management could be related as well. So they have some smart saving or power saving modes, which could be why some of those apps were not being held 100% in the background. But one thing I did want to talk about is the split screen modes here. So if you want to split different applications, you can actually do that, and then you could bring in a third application on the OnePlus very easily. So it's pretty cool that they have a triple split screen mode. You can bring it down here, you can bring it over here, and look at that. Pretty neat. You can then come back over here if you want to do this. So definitely really neat multitasking. The split screen here on the iPad, and you could see it will do 2 split screens there. Let's go ahead and just put App Store there though. And you see you'll be able to slide over, so pretty cool. And then you will be able to bring a bunch of applications like this. And so if you want to put a third application, you could pop them like this, and then You can use a slide view as well. So you can use 3 at once. So it's kind of similar, but it's just a little bit different. The OnePlus lets you see all of it on screen at once. So you'll just have to decide which option works better for you, but both of them run that just fine as well. Let's head into our benchmarks now before we wrap things up with the speed test. So we'll run a CPU benchmark, M4 CPU versus the very fast 8 Elite. So this is going to be a fun one to see what kind of scores they get. I don't expect the 8 Elite to win, but definitely I think it's going to be a pretty good score. It put up a good fight in single core 3083 versus 3729, but we know the iPad is running laptop CPU, so blowing it away in the multi-core score. And in 3D Mark, a lot of the Android devices usually win in these Apple versus Android comparisons, but we see a better score on the iPad Pro M4 of 50.4 FPS, 8408, but very respectable 6519 with 40 FPS basically is 39.04 on the OnePlus Pad 3. So neither one of these are going to slow down in gaming. They're going to give you some super smooth gaming experiences. This scoring better than 98% of devices on the market. This one right behind it on its heels at 97%. Great decision by OnePlus to put the 8 Elite chipset in here. It is a absolute powerhouse. This one, I don't even have to say it. We know with M4, it's blowing away most of the competition, and it wins here as well. So at the end of the day, benchmarks showcase the iPad being way ahead in the performance, but really what it comes down to is how much do you want to spend, because you will pay a lot more for a little bit more performance that you probably won't even notice too much because you likely won't be able to take full advantage of that power. But you will definitely get your money's worth if you're using things like Final Cut Pro or some of the Apple-based applications that are for creators and stuff of that sort. Also, if you're reliant on the ecosystem with your iPhone and stuff like that, this is still going to be the better option. But professional grade applications is where this really tends to shine over these Android phone or these Android tablets, I would say. But if you just use a tablet, like you want a big tablet, you can do some documents, do some AI work, just kind of like read big, content, watch movies, watch videos, just your normal tablet usage, large tablet usage with some more productivity at play that could potentially place your laptop. Both of these are going to do basically the same things. So that's going to wrap it up here for me. I think the OnePlus did admirably well. Probably one of the best Android experiences out there for tablets. Maybe the fastest or one of the fastest out there. Anyway, this one though, still the king of the hill, but it was a good battle. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. Thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you all in the next episode. Be sure to be well and peace.